review the federal assault weapons ban. Assault weapons should be legally purchased by civilians. I have three contentions. Contention 1. Assault weapons ban threatens Second Amendment rights. DC versus Heller Cruz Miller is not the controlling president. The Second Amendment states that everyone has the right to lawfully keep and bear arms. A government study required by the 1994 legislation that enacted the ban found no statistical evidence of post-ban decreases in either the number of victims per gun homicide incident, the number of gunshot rounds per victim, or the proportion of gunshot victims with multiple wounds. Last year, the Supreme Court ruled in District of Columbia versus Heller that the Second Amendment protects an individual's right to keep and bear arms primarily for self-defense. The court sent a clear message that incremental steps to erode the Second Amendment are unacceptable. Heller recently redefined the Second Amendment individual right to possess and carry weapons and was affirmed 2 years later in McDonald versus City of Chicago, applying the individual right to bear arms to all 50 states. Maholko, Executive Commons Editor, Boston College International and Comparative Law Review, 2012. Justice Scalia's reasoned that the Second Amendment guarantees the individual right to possess and carry weapons in case of confrontation. Only 2 years later, Heller was affirmed, and the Second Amendment was incorporated against states as an individual right in McDonald versus City of Chicago. 2 years later, McDonald versus City of Chicago incorporated the individual right to keep and bear arms established at Heller to all 50 states. My second contention is guns can be used to stop acts of evil in the name of self-defense. Gross, Chair of Calgun's Foundation, 2012. Here are some examples. After the Civil War, the right to bear arms was used to protect freedmen from the brutal violence of the Ku Klux Klan. Today, the right to armed self-defense protects the LGBT community from the twin evils of ignorance and hate. The right to self-defense also protects mothers and daughters from rapists, merchants from robbers, and families from home invaders. The U.S. Department of Justice reports that guns are used 1,500,000 times a year to successfully defend good people from bad people, almost always without the firing of a single shot. The Colorado massacre is disturbing, but it must be seen in this context. In addition, assault weapons defend against terrorists. By Faber, J.D. Thomas Cooley Law School, 2004. The case is the Israeli case. 3 terrorists armed with machine guns began shooting into a crowded market. But before they could continue to rampage, they were fired upon and stopped by armed Israeli civilians. The terrorists killed far fewer people due to armed resistance than civilians. The government does not and will not ever have the resources to ensure the safety of each individual citizen. We have to know that the police do not serve as personal bodyguards for the average citizen. My third contention is ban is ineffective. Ban is ineffective by Legal Community Against Violence, 2005. The 1994 law has reduced the availability and use of assault weapons in crime. But the law has significant limitations. The generic definition of assault weapon requires each weapon to have 2 specified military features. In contrast, in 1989...
Time. So, stay there. Now we have what's called crossfire. So, Isaac,
yep.
You and you're going to have to remind me of your name. Carol. You and Carol are going to ask questions of each other for 3 minutes.
Okay.
You get to ask Carol the first question. Can you stand up and go towards the podium, please? Isaac.
Okay.
Yeah. So, I'm starting the timer. Oh, and as a reminder, if you do not know what to ask, if you don't have a question, say, in my speech I said, and then give me that introduction to the quote. What's your response to that? Ready? Isaac, first question. First question.
Oh, do I have to go up there? Or is
Yes.
Okay.
Good, go up there. All right, 3 minutes. Go.
What is your response to the 1,500,000? You previously said that 1.5 million cases of self-defense were used with guns to protect the victim. But do you know that all of these weapons, these guns used, were assault weapons?
I believe that the matter of what kinds of weapons are not important, if only to protect citizens. In this case, in the Israeli case, it doesn't matter if they're assault weapons or not, but they do their job and protect citizens.
Okay, Carol, ask Isaac a question.
In your speech, you attributed to the fact that guns flowed to Mexico across the border resulted from weapons ban. But doesn't it seem to be the ineffective of border control and smuggling across borders that
Why do you keep covering your mouth?
causes homicide in Mexico?
That very well may be true, but since the ban was lifted, more guns have been flowing into Mexico. Before this, a lot less guns. Whether whose fault it was, it doesn't really matter, because more guns are going into Mexico and killing people ever since this ban was lifted.
Isaac, ask another question.
How can you compare the situation in Israel to America's, when in Israel, these people, the civilians, need guns to fight off Palestinian terrorists with guns? Israel has no control over the terrorist guns, whereas America does have control over the guns within. So if America can stop these bad people who would misuse guns, there would really be no use to have assault weapons.
Sometimes the government can't protect everyone, therefore it is better to make civilians bear arms to protect themselves.
Carol, ask another question.
In my speech, I said that one of the most important role of assault weapons is to defend yourself. However, in your perspective, you seem to say that assault weapons are only used for killing people. How do you respond to my evidence
Stop covering your mouth.
in my speech?
They kill people regardless of who the person is. It could be a person defending himself or a person being or an innocent bystander. And these guns kill a lot of people. Without these guns, the killing power of anybody would decrease significantly.
Time's up.